headlines, and this evening we're diving into a headline that's sending shockwaves across the IT landscape. Consultancy Services, which is the bellwether of the tech industry, has announced plans to slash 12,000 jobs, which is 2% of its workforce. Now, TCS, in a statement to ET Now, has said that this is part of becoming a future-ready organization, even as the company continues investing in new technology, AI deployment, and next-gen infrastructure. In fact, as a result of these layoffs, the impact will primarily be on middle and senior-level associates. In fact, the IT sector, with a cumulative revenue of over $283 billion, is amongst the largest employers. So the big question now is, will there be a ripple effect across companies in the IT spectrum? Ladies and gentlemen, we decode that with a special guest who's joining us in just a short while from now. But first, let's take a look at some historical trends for TCS with other tech majors within India and globally. And my colleague Pulkit is joining in with some data on just that.
As the news of TCS is in the market regarding the layoff of around 2% workforce. So the TCS management has informed around the 12,000 employees will be affected by this particular move. If we talk about the past trend, in FY24 also, TCS has reduced around 13,200 employees. That was around 2.2% of the total workforce from their total headcount. If we talk about the Indian companies, what they are doing regarding the hiring. So for Infosys, recently the management has openly said that they are ready to hire more employees if the projects demand. Same trend is going on with the LTI-Mindtree as well. For Wipro as well, they are focusing on more freshers hiring. So all in all, it's not a very big news for the layoff from the layoff side, but yeah, it is something that needs to be checked in. If we talk about the global news, what global tech companies are doing regarding the job cuts. For Intel, they have already announced the plan to cut around 24,000 jobs. For Microsoft, they have plan of around 9,000 layoffs. For Meta, around 3,600 jobs. For IBM, they have already laid off 8,000 employees, and they were majorly from the HR and the customer support side, because this kind of work can be done by AI agents as the management feels in. If we talk about the current trend regarding the attrition for TCS, it was around 13.8. This attrition is after the result of Q1 FY26. For HCL Tech, it was around 12.8. For Tech Mahindra, it was around 12.6. For Wipro, it was around 15.1, and for Infosys, it was around 14.4%.
Thank you very much, Pulkit, for collating that data and, of course, putting that into perspective, ladies and gentlemen. I'm now joined by Mohandas, he's the chairman of Aarin Capital. Thank you very much, sir, once again for joining us here on ET Now. It's always a pleasure to have you and get your thoughts on some of the breaking stories that we're talking about. First things first, you've been an IT veteran, you've been a CFO at an IT company and watched this sector unfold from up close. The last spate of massive job cuts came during COVID, which companies started looking in for bringing in efficiencies. And, the current job cuts, if we talk about the current trend of job cuts, does this signal a larger exercise that perhaps would be taken by other IT majors, other startups and other companies as well? And if yes, how much worse is this cycle going to be?
Look, what is happening now has happened in the past, like one of your people just said. Please remember, all IT companies have a pyramid of a ratio of freshers, people with 1, 2, 3 years experience to senior people, right? And you can have enough people at the middle and senior level, provided you have enough people at the lower levels. Now, in the last 3 years, because of a lot of inertia in the market, a lack of growth, the pyramid has become more straight than inclined. And that means more people are there in the middle and senior position than required to deliver services. So when this happens, they have to necessarily start a process of asking some people to go based on performance indicators. It happened much earlier, it happened now, it's going to happen again. And I think it's good because you need to have certain ratios to be efficient. And if you have too many people who are not consulting, who are not generating revenues, who are mere managers and not adding value, obviously you can't have them on board beyond a point. And to put it in perspective, the total IT industry employs about 60 lakh people. TCS is about 6.5 lakh or so. And they're just letting 2 people go. Last year, they had this year, right now, they're running an attrition of 12-13%. That means they will lose about 75,000 people this year due to attrition. So 12,000 people is nothing. It's a very small number. And it's necessary to downsize or, let's say, right-size the organization. They'll also be hiring. They said they're going to hire 40,000 freshers. So I think the key thing is to see how is the industry growing? Is the industry adding jobs? Right now, the GCCs are adding jobs because a lot of the jobs done on site in among the enterprises globally is being done in India in their own captives, GCCs, or whatever you call it today. And this happening because during COVID, they found that people can work anywhere. And they're finding in the time of AI, they need to have their own people, but they're not able to get people in the UK or in the Europe or in the US. So they're hiring here with enough trained people, and the work is coming there. As for the IT service companies, growth has been quite less in the last 2 years, primarily because of the fact that the interest rates have been up. There is confusion in the marketplace because of many things, the Ukraine war, and recently high interest rates in the US. Now
Absolutely.
Trump and his tariff plan. So there's confusion and the overall growth is not there. Please remember, for very many years, Indian IT services could grow very fast because they were a sample of a large universe. Now they are the universe. For them to grow faster than the universe will take a lot of effort. And also, people need to understand that they have an on-site work and offshore work. Offshore gets billed 40% of what you build on-site. If you work 1 day on-site, the same revenue, you need to work 2.5 days offshore to generate the same revenues. When more work happens offshore, revenue does not grow. So there's a lot of complication. So this is not something that is extraordinary. It's happened before, it'll happen again, very normal.
It's happened before. Yes, sir, it's happened before. It's happening now. And even though you say that 2% is nothing for the company, but definitely it's a lot for the people who are going to be losing their jobs, given the kind of times that we're currently in. So let me come back to the point that you made about, these people will lose their jobs. Is it not incumbent on companies to sort of, undertake skilling and reskilling initiatives, given the fact that, generative AI and agentic AI has really developed multiple, at the speed of light, if I may say, over the past 1 to 2 years, ever since they have come into existence, and the super intelligence is going to be developing at that speed likely in the future. So is it not really incumbent upon these companies to undertake skilling initiatives?
Look, please give them some credit. The giant global company, they know what to do. They have skilled 50-60% of the people on use of AI. They've done that. They've been skilling them for the last 2 years. They know what to do. They're closer to the customer. They know the market. They need what to do. And some analysts or some journalists, sitting afar, think they know too much. I'm sorry, you don't understand the business at all. They know what to do. They're training people. But please remember, if you're a manager who is managing, and there are too many managers, that's what has happened now because of lack of growth. There's no role for you. That is the problem. Now, yes, you feel sorry for these people. But please remember, in the industry where there is 12-13% attrition, which is not there in other industries. That means people have mobility, people leave when they get a better offer. So I don't know what is there to feel sorry about. Most of these people will get jobs elsewhere. They may get jobs in regular enterprises, in startups, everywhere, because everywhere there's a shortage of good managers who can manage projects, who can do many things. Even the last time, about 70-80% have got jobs elsewhere. And periodic cuts like this is good for the system, because they leak into the other areas and they do work. Some of them may not get jobs. Yes, that is the casualty that will happen when things happen. But that's the name of the game. This is all a right sizing done by companies. Please remember, they're hiring 40,000 freshers. They have an attrition of 12%. The industry employs 60 lakh people. 60 lakh people. If 60,000 are asked to go, it is no big deal. It's 1%.
Okay, let me also ask you about this, wage gap issue, sir. We have spoken earlier as well on that particular issue here on ET Now, and that still remains extremely wide. How wider is that, wage gap issue going to become now? Because now the larger worry for people is going to be ensuring job security.
Well, I think there's a wage gap for freshers. Freshers are still getting around the same wage they're getting 12, 13 years ago. And despite inflation being 3, 4, 5% a year, the wages have not gone up. In real terms, they're getting much less than I think what they got 13, 14, 15 years ago, which is unfortunate, which against what the software industry stands for, is against what they said they stand for. If you look at the CEO's salaries, it's gone up 10x, 12x over the last many years. Of course, profits too have gone up. But this industry spoke of itself as having a very high ethical standard, of having a business model based on people and saying people are the greatest asset. And it's shameful for all of them They're not paying freshers more, and they're exploiting them. They're exploiting them because there happen to be a lot of freshers who come in the marketplace because we are producing a lot of engineers. But this industry should not exploit people at the entry level. They must pay them better, at least pay them the same money in real terms that they got 15 years ago, and not exploit because there are too many of them. Now they take the excuse, these are all people who don't have skills. We train them, we spend a lot of money. Yes, they were doing that much before too. There's nothing new. They spend $3 to $4 billion a year. $3 to $4 billion, please mark my number, a year on training people. They're doing a lot of training in all technologies, but not to pay people and to pay the CEOs so much of money, I think is very, very shameful and goes against everything this industry stands for. I was a part of this industry from 94. I mean, we used to always make sure people at the bottom got paid well, they're taken care of well, and we are people-centric. For the last many years, they become mercenary organizations where the top people exploit and the boards are sitting quiet. I'm very ashamed of the boards of these IT service companies for not asking questions. Because many of them are being paid well. Board members are being paid very well. And what are they doing? Not talking about the people at the bottom of the pyramid not getting money and not even what they're getting. Sir. I think they have to introspect. They have to make comments.
And so that's only worsened over the past few years. The big question remains: how is that wage gap going to be bridged, and how will high-paying jobs? How are they going to get created then?
Is not going to be bridged. Today, what is happening, Tier 1 colleges don't join the IT service industry. Tier 2 colleges, many of them don't join. Tier 3 and 4 are joining because they have no other prospects. All right? They know the prospects. It becomes harder to train them. They're all bright people. I'm not talking as them, but they need to be trained much better. And I think that's going to be harder and harder for them. And please remember, if you have a highly trained workforce, they're more mobile. And when in a company, normally good people leave because they get better prospects. And people are not so productive, stay behind. And over a period of time, if the large number of people are not so productive, you're going to suffer. I hope these people understand business strategy well and see how to reconfigure their workforce and to get to make sure they have people of exceptional talent all through. And I think it's important to bridge the wage gap and make sure that people have a good morale and people feel happy and people feel proud and attrition comes down. If you have 100 people joining the first year, by the fourth or fifth year, about 60 to 70 people are gone for most of these companies because attrition the first 5 years is not 12, 13%, it's 18, 20%. And they lose the best people in the first 5 years, and they're rather sad, and they have to take steps. I hope they take steps only now because AI is going to make them much more productive. When AI makes them much more productive, you should be able to pay people better, even otherwise, and make sure that with lesser people, they do more work.
Right, sir. And that brings me to my next question, which essentially is around the business model of these IT companies. Does that also need to change to perhaps more output and outcome-based, and it needs to move from this current business model of being headcount-based?
Look, once again, I look, people who made that comment, I know this, my friend CP made some comment like that. Let me explain the comment. This business model is based upon two different revenue streams, fixed price and time and material. Fixed price and time and material depends upon the client. The client will say, I want this piece of work done, this well-defined, and you come and bid. They bid a price, and then they give to their work to the person whom they feel they can get the work done. That's a fixed price project in which the service company which takes the work observes the losses in case the effort goes overboard, or they make more money if they're able to deliver faster. Most companies, 40-50% of the work comes through time and material, where they tell the service companies, look, we want this project to be done. You quote the number of person months that is required, and we'll pay you X amount of money per person month, and you must have so many people working on the project, and they work together. It's a choice of the client. It's not a choice of the company which offers the service to give output. When you talk about output, let me give an example. You have a project for which there's some kind of output which you say after the end of 7-8 months. In 7-8 months, if you don't get the output, the client has wasted the time and resources. This company has, of course, lost money. Why should the client waste time and resources for 7 to 8 months? So most people had the risk by having time and material, and they're having fixed price. These are two big models that work. Unless you give some product and you license, and services are not a product business, it's a services business. Now, one more thing, please understand, when AI comes, most global enterprises don't have the ability to use AI. AI is not using Grok, any of those applications that you and I can use regularly, right? We use it for discovery, asking questions. Businesses have to use AI into their business process and everywhere else, for which they need to make sure that the AI is used properly, is properly tested, it gives the output required, and monitor it and maintain it and tweak it when required. So these people, and the only people who can do that in large
Right,
number,
sir.
the service companies. You can't do it the service companies. Now there is a slowdown
Right.
primarily because global spending is not going up. All these companies have become part of the universe. Many
Yes.
years ago, they were small, they were a sample. Now they're big. If the
Yes.
universe goes 4%, they can go 5, 6%. If more work comes offshore, obviously the growth rate and
Right.
revenue will come down because offshore is 40% of 1% billing for a year. And that is the model, right? And now when AI is being used more and more work will come to these people because they're the only ones who can do AI. I saw a
Right, sir.
recent job listing
Right,
in
sir.
the US which spoke about more AI positions than software positions for the first time in many years. So that means people are not
Right, sir.
hiring people for software. Where are they getting
Right,
the
sir.
software done in India? Through this, through all the
Right.
GCCs and the software companies, and they want AI. There are no AI people left in America.
Absolutely,
You've seen
sir.
all the prices.
Right, sir. Right, sir, and which is why we need that much more skill initiatives to be done, to be undertaken by companies and, of
Don't
course,
worry.
individuals
It's
as well
happening.
to prepare themselves. So what's to come ahead? Yes, sir, it's happening, but we have to see the scale at which these reskilling initiatives are happening within these companies, right? And in fact, we have spoken.
Look, Sumita, please understand. These people run their business, the multi-billion-dollar business enterprises. They're some of the best managers in the industry globally. Now, you and I, who are outsiders, cannot sit down and say, "Oh, show me."
Sir,
Show me,
I
show me.
also said that
They're running-
individuals also need to. Sir,
they're
I
running
also said
business.
individuals also
Look,
need to undertake skilling initiatives, and they need to prepare themselves for what's to come.
Individuals should understand this. We are at an inflection point. They must learn, and these companies are providing training, upskill. Please make sure you got up-to-date skills. Please invest in yourself. Like Warren Buffett said, the best investment for an individual to invest in themselves to improve their skills and education. I think it's important for all of them to do it. If you don't do it, you'll be left behind. Because this is an industry which is based upon skill, on technology, on change, on new things, on innovation. And you got to be up to date. And the companies are skilling and spending a lot of money skilling these people. I think they have to take advantage. If you don't take advantage, you're going to be history, and nobody can feel sorry for you. The opportunities are there, the skilling is there, the investment is there, and there's so much of free stuff available on the web. Skill yourself, and I'm sure it will work out. Please remember, there is a
Right, sir.
slowdown now in the industrial spending, so you're not seeing growth, even though some of them are growing. The smaller ones are growing because they're all niche players. When you become very large, a 10% growth for TCS is $4 billion. $4 billion is money times the revenue of most of small companies, right? So please understand scale. It's a very large industry with a lot of scale. There's 60 lakh people working in the industry. And the downsizing is maybe 10, 20, maybe some more will get downsized. If 40, 50,000 get downsized and they hire 200,000 freshers, it's fine,
Right,
isn't it?
sir. Absolutely. Sir, let me also ask you, since you're talking about growth, are we bracing for a low to mid-single digit growth till AI monetization takes place? And, you also spoke about the kind of pyramid structure that these companies follow, where entry-level freshers get hired more. So what's the kind of structure, the new structure that IT companies will need to adapt to?
Well, I think, it'll be low single digits or maybe, mid single digits for the next 12 months at least, because we don't see any upsurge of spending right now. And even in the upsurge, it takes time for it to come into revenues. And that's what we can possibly expect. Now, I think as for the shape of the pyramid, I think the pyramid will be less inclined than earlier, because today with AI, much of the grunt work will go. Much of the grunt work that was being done with people will go. There'll be more need for people with more experience, more skill than earlier. And there'll not be enough need for more freshers to come in to do a lot of the grunt work that had to be done, repeat work, grunt work, etc., that had to be done for a project. Because with AI, you can finish a one-year project in possibly 9 months or maybe 7 to 8 months. That means you need to have more skills, and there'll be lesser number of people required. The growth in number of people will be less. But please remember, you still have to hire freshers to fill up the gaps due to attrition. Attrition has not come down. In this quarter, we've seen attrition at 12 to 14%. I think one company at 14%, another company at 12%. And if you assume for 12 to 14% attrition for 60 lakh people, and that's about 750,000 people, right? 720, 750,000 people. That's a lot of people. Look at the attrition. You got good data. Can there be high attrition when there's no work, the industry is going downhill? It cannot be, right? Attrition is more. Why is attrition more? People are finding better jobs outside. Why are people buying better jobs outside? Because people are paying more. If you leave TCS and go somewhere,
Right,
somebody should offer you 25, 30% more, right? So I think, look at the attrition. So I think this is right sizing. They're investing hugely. The market has a great demand for good people.
Okay.
The growth has yet to come. When AI starts taking up,
Okay.
the growth will come back. But the growth is not going to be double digits. At best, it'll be in the
Absolutely.
high single digits. Right now, it's the low single
Right.
digits.
Right, sir. In fact, some of these companies like Wipro and Infosys, in fact, have hinted at the fact that they are open to hiring, given the kind of, newer projects that they're going to get from diverse geographies that these companies are currently operating in. But one final question before we let you go. Now, the World Economic Forum has projected an estimated of 170 million new jobs that will be created by 2030. But I want to understand from you, what are the kind of these jobs that will be in demand?
Look, we are in 2025. 5 more years, 170 million new jobs. They must be kidding. And they will be having a consultant who's out of their mind, right? 170 million new jobs happening in technology globally. Where? Which country? The US at best had 3 or 4 million jobs, 5 million jobs, 6 million jobs, 7 million jobs a year. The whole of Europe, 7, 8 million jobs, if at all. And most of it will be job shifted, right? India and others. Where is the jobs? I don't know what the World Economic Forum is talking about. There will be jobs. It won't be such kind of numbers, but the jobs will be in areas of deep technology, because the technology shifts and new technology comes in. You need deeper specialization. So it means the top 5-10% of all the people in software will gravitate towards these higher level jobs. They'll open up for others to come and occupy their places. The new PhDs coming out of the university, a very small number, will probably do R&D to write the next new algorithm. Right? So if you look at all these numbers, this 170 million, 200 million, 800 million, these lack any substance.
Okay. So you're saying that this is not realistic. You're saying that this is not really realistic.
No.
This is not realistic. So Mr. Pai, one final question before we let you go. What is the future of work?
I think the future work is very good, because people will be more productive using AI, but the application of AI will take time. It is slow. You go back to 2002, 2003, when the internet revolution took off, right? Everybody said eyeballs will prevail, this way. Nothing happened for 10 years, because it takes time for people to change their habits. It takes time for enterprise to change their habit. Enterprises work largely on inertia. $100 billion enterprise, you think it's going to change overnight and dance? They're not able to dance, right? Startups can dance, startups can do everything else. So it's going to take time. But the future of work will be where people can become more productive, use AI, the drudgery of work can go away, and this will happen. It means that many of the work which is repeat, which is rule-based, will go. But new types of work in supervision of that work will happen. There is more accumulated software today than any time in human history. Maybe 25, 30 trillion dollars of software is in use today, invested over the last maybe 10, 15 years, right? Now, many people have to upgrade. Many people will lose their jobs. Many more young people will come. But the market is expanding. Everything is becoming software. So demand will continue to grow, but it may grow at a lesser pace in the last 5 years because of huge protein increase. But please remember, outside technology, there'll be many people going and working in enterprises to imbibe technology. And in the US today, the baby boomers are retiring in large numbers. Remember that the baby boomers in the US and Europe, where you have the population.
So that's a key shift. So that's a key shift that's happening in demographics. Yes. Right. So that's a key shift that's happening when we talk about demographics. And
large numbers are retiring. Please remember, very large numbers. And the young people coming in the workforce are lesser than the large number of people retiring. So some of it will not be filled because of the fact that people are much more productive. Some of it will not be filled. But overall in the world today, we are in a position where the number of people entering the workforce is coming down year by year. In China, the population is shrinking. In Japan, the population
Right,
is
sir.
shrinking.
And that's a big worry, because it again goes back to the same point about the fact that are people who are entering the workforce, are they skilled enough for what's to come in the future, for these big technological shifts that organizations are going to undertake? That remains the big question. On that note, Pai, sir, it's always good to have you talk about and give your perspectives on big stories. And thank you once again very much for joining us here on Startup Central.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.